Hi guys, this is Andrew with B&B Technologies here. Today we're going to go over part 4 of our 4-part series for HP's Agile Manager. So today we'll cover the dashboard, some administrative work, and tie up any loose ends that we missed in the first 3 videos. Okay guys, so here's the dashboard in AGM. It's the last module we're going to look at before we move on to looking at a few customization features. So that's in the configuration. For the dashboard, though, we see that it's broken down into the release, the sprint, and then the team. So the dashboard is a collection of widgets, and right now, as you can see, we don't have any widgets on our dashboard. So let's go ahead and add a widget. You can click Add Widgets, and I'm in selected All, and you can see that there's a lot of widgets in here. So then they give us some options here like application widgets, defects widgets, features. So let's go ahead and add our application widget. So let's say application investment. And then let's go to features. Let's add a couple of feature widgets. So I'm just adding them down here at the bottom. General widgets, maybe add my stories. Release widgets, we only have one release, so it won't do us much good here. Maybe some sprint widgets, sprint burn down. So let's add a few of these, and then I'll show you what to do with them. So as you can see, we have a lot of widgets here. So these widgets you can drag and drop, you can move them around. There's a minimize button, or more action button there, sorry, minimize button here, the box with the line through it. So we can minimize widgets. We can expand them. More options, you can refresh an individual widget. There's also a refresh button for the entire dashboard up here at the top. Configure settings or full screen, and full screen is pretty useful on a few of these widgets. So, so that's widgets in a nutshell for you. You can also create custom widgets, custom graphs I should say. So you can create custom graph down here when adding a widget. And we won't go through the whole creating a custom graph, but there's a lot of options in here for you to play around with. Very nice feature. Okay, quickly let's look at a couple of the favorite views here. So I selected developer view. We have developer view, Kanban view, release manager, and Scrum master. So developer dashboard is just a preset by HP. Let's check out the Kanban. So they give us a control chart, storyboard flow, backlog item size. We have release manager dashboard, and then the Scrum master dashboard. So nice favorite views added there by HP. All right, and lastly, we have a clear dashboard button. So I'll go ahead and hit that for you guys. We can clear the dashboard of all of our widgets and get right back to where we started. Okay, so let's step into the configuration little cogwheel up here that we've been in a little bit, and let's take a look at that. So first, let's start with the first configuration module, if you want to call it that, site configuration. And the site configuration goes across the entire AGM site. So it's not specific to the workspace, but it's for everybody. So first tab is you have workspaces. So as you can see, we have various workspaces here. I think we hit on this in the first video, but to add a workspace, you can add a workspace right here, enter a name, description, and save. We can delete workspaces from here, so it's possible to delete. There's a refresh button if you create a new one, and it's pretty self-explanatory. For our license here, we can use up to 10 different workspaces for this site. Alright, next up we have custom fields. So this defines custom fields for user stories, defects, themes, and features. And we can add up to 10 fields for each of those. So 10 fields for user stories, 10 for defects, etc. So let's go ahead and add a field here just to show you. So we'll add a new user story field. And maybe the field label we'll call requirement, which would be useful if you're linking AGM to HP's ALM, for example, using the synchronizer tool. So field label requirement, and then we can do this as a free text field. And it's as easy as that. It takes a second to update, but now we have a requirement made, or a custom field made called requirement that applies to user stories. Okay, lastly is users. So we have all of our users here for our instance. You can add a new user. You simply put their login name, which is their email, first, last, phone number, workspace, role, and you can omit phone number if you want. For the email, you need to make sure that the domain's the same for all of them. So for my example here, we're all at bnb.com. So if we tried to add someone at Google or Live, it wouldn't work. Alright, so that's about it for the site customizations. It's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and step into integrations. So this is where we would use the next-gen synchronizer, and we can create a link with ALM and Agile Manager. I don't have it set up here, so unfortunately we can't take a look at it, but you can download and install the bridge link here. It creates a bridge identification, and you would want to define the integration bridge user. Alright, lastly let's look at Workspace. So there's a lot of info here in Workspace. The first tab is Settings, and then it gives us subtabs here, Preference and Notifications. So first is Notifications. Whenever I create a new workspace in a test environment, I always uncheck all of the notifications, just because these are going to be a lot of emails. But on a production environment, I would recommend keeping the notifications all there. Preferences, so my preferences are all set to default. We have a team member capacity, hours per day, 6. You can change that to 8, change that to 10. Default estimation for defects. So for defects, their default time is 1 hour. Estimation for tasks, we have 6 hours, or I'm sorry, 1 story point for defects. And then the tasks are 6 hours. So you can go ahead and change the defaults here. Down here we have user stories. A user story can only be set to done when all linked defects are closed, all acceptance tests have passed, its code coverage is at least any value you want. Its unit test success rate is at least, and again, any value you want. So these are just conditions here. And same with defects, they can only be closed when certain conditions are met. So that's about it for the Settings tab. Everything's pretty self-explanatory here. Let's look at templates. So templates, we can create or import templates for user stories or defects. So defects, we actually have the default defect template. It looks like I created this the other day, so I didn't realize I had a default template created. But let's go ahead and create a user story defect or user story default template. So new user story template description, we'll just say test1. Story name, so we can add a story name to it. We can add a task to it, and we can add an acceptance criteria. So depending on how specific you want your template to be, this is how you would do it. And then you can simply save it. So it's telling us it wants more data here. New user story template has no data, at least one item to your template, and save again. So let's go ahead and give it a story name. This will be the default template. So as you can see, it needs at least one bit of value info here. So some sort of data, but you don't have to fill out everything. So I'll save that. And now we have our template here called new user story template. Okay, so now we have workspace users. So this is different from site users because workspace users is only for our specific workspace. And in our example here, we're on the YouTube demo. So our workspace, we just have myself as the only user. And you can include users here, and it includes any of the users in the site user list. And then from that user, you can unassign users, assign roles, set access to applications, and set SCM user mapping. Alright, next up we have applications. So we hit on how to make one of these earlier in the video, in part 1 I believe. But to add an application, simply hit the Add Application button and name it anything you want with the description. Same idea with releases, so same as creating application. Set a release, we have to put a date in here, and then you set the sprint duration. Again, we covered this in part 1. Teams, so here's something we didn't create in this demo. You can create workspace teams that carry across all of your releases and applications. So I went ahead and just created feature teams instead of workspace teams. The only difference is that when your release ends and you start a new release, you have to import your teams again. If you wanted, you could create a workspace team and you wouldn't have to import that team. So it just gives you a couple of options here. I prefer feature teams than just re-import them every release, but again, multiple ways to do this here. Okay, ALI summary. This is application lifecycle intelligence. We don't have it configured to sync up with our AGM right here, but this will just give you more reporting. And then builds and code are the same idea. Both of these are ALI configurations and ALI components. Again, I don't have that set up here, but the last three are for ALI. Okay, so let's step out of there. Okay guys, so the last part that we didn't look at, the last two modules, builds and source code, it's the same as the settings we just looked at. So these are for ALI, which I think I hit on earlier in the video, but again, we don't have this set up, but these would be more for reporting and integrating with ALI. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this series on how to use AGM. If you have questions, please feel free to leave comments, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. And again, thank you so much for watching.